Hey there, puzzlers! Recently, I've been doing a series of videos on solving twisty puzzles intuitively, where I solve a series of increasingly difficult twisty puzzles until I can finally solve this one, the final boss, the 4x4x6 CrazyBad Fisher Cuboid. As of today, these are the puzzles that we've solved, and I've put a link to a video playlist in the description with all of these videos. And these are the puzzles that we still have to solve, so there's still quite a bit of work cut out for us until we reach the final boss. Today, though, we're going to be solving this puzzle, the 4x4x4 Rubik's Cube. Let's get it all scrambled up. While I'm scrambling this, let me remind you about the rules by which I'm doing this. I'm not allowing myself to look anything up online. All of my moves have to either be intuitive or designed, and that's usually done with pencil and paper. The only exception to that rule is if I find that I need an algorithm that I've previously derived, like for example the corner permutation algorithm on the 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube. I'm just going to look that up for the sake of time. Without further ado, let's get solving. There are a couple different ways you could approach this puzzle. You could try to match the colors of the edges and fill in all the centers and solve out like a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube. Or you could start at a corner and make a 2x2x2 block and sort of fill out that way. What I'm actually going to do is solve it layer by layer because I find that the most intuitive. I'm going to start by filling in a center, just right here, of color white. This part of the puzzle is not too difficult, mostly because there's a lot of flexibility in where things are. You don't have to worry too much about messing up other pieces as you put correct pieces into place. And so you see I have that square there. This is all just intuitive at this point. Next thing I'm going to do is put in the corners, and that will make sure that I have the corners in the right colors, so I know the blue and white corner has to go here. So finding that corner is my first priority. It's here. I need to bring it here. And then we have two other corners just to put into place. You can do this intuitively. This is what I'm going to do. Just like that. Those corners are in place. So now I need to get these edges into place. I'm going to be looking for the same color edges. For example, this red and white edge has to go here. And what's interesting about these edges is that they have certain positions. So for example, this orange and white edge I'm about to put into place cannot actually go here, as far as I can tell. That's different than what it would be like on a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube. There, the edges, there's just one edge, so I guess they don't have to worry about the relative positioning of them. And there's two more edges to put in here, actually really three. 1, 2, and then one more, which we're going to do like this. And just like that, the first layer is done. It's just like solving a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube. Alright, I'm going to put that on the bottom, and I'm going to start working on the second layer here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get all of these color centers into place. So we already have the orange one here. In general, when solving these first three layers, my strategy is going to be using this top layer as a place to temporarily store pieces. And then I'm going to try to bring them down here. I've had great success with that in other puzzles. So let's see if we can figure out a way to get this orange piece here. So if I were to bring this up to the top, this is the piece that I need to replace. And I need to move this slice back down at some point. So if you think about it, if I move this way, is that right? No. If I move it this way and turn this slice, now the piece that's above this orange and white corner is going to be replaced. It's going to be replaced with whatever's in that spot. Moving that pair out of the way, I can put it back into place. So now that this orange piece is here, this will move when I turn that slice. Moving that orange and white corner up to the upper left, and moving that slice back down lines the two of them up. Now I still need to get it back in its place here. So if I move it out of the way of that slice turn that slice, move it into place, I can put it right back down where it needs to be. And that should just be what all of these are. If you're doing it on the right side, it just should be mirrored, just with different right or left moves. Gosh, it's hard to talk while doing this. So I'm just going to do that for the rest of these. So it moves up here to the corner. We move that edge piece up. We put it off to the side. We turn that slice back down to repair this white part. And that lines up these. Now we can move it out of the way, turn that slice up, put it into place, and we're done. And now there's just 2 more of these to do. There's one. There's 2. And so now all of the color centers are in place. Now we need to think about how we're going to get the edges into place, like this green and orange edge here. Well, there's a green and orange edge here. It'd be nice if we can move that in. Actually, there's one there too. Well, I think I'm going to try to treat this like a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube, because that will allow me to use the edge placement algorithm if I think about these as combined. Let me get some tape and try to make that more clear. So what I've done is I've gotten some clear plastic tape and I've labeled these 2 edges A and B. And the tape is actually going between the 2 pieces, so you can't turn it like that. The tape's actually blocking it from being turned. And that tape's very easily removable, which is good. So if I think about that being the same for all of these pieces, those act like edges in a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube, as long as I don't break them apart. Now to see what I mean, I'm going to do a 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube algorithm on this piece. This is the classic algorithm that's used to solve the middle layer edges in the 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube. So R, U prime, R prime, U prime, F prime, U, F. And what that's done is that's taken that edge that was there before and put both pieces in. Notice the tape is still on. I still can't turn this between the 2 of them. We're treating that as one edge. And the other edge has done what it does in the usual Rubik's Cube algorithm. It's gone somewhere else in the cube, but it's still together as well. So using that, I think we can put in all the edges on the second layer as long as we can find the piece that we're looking for in one of the edges. So for example, here we're looking for a blue and white piece. There's one here. We can try to put that in using the same algorithm. That works. We have the red and blue edge here that we need to find. There's one up on the top here. And there's a red and green edge we need to find here. Well, there's 2 of them in the top layer. What if we pick this one here? Well, that's actually mismatched. So that's not the right edge. I'm just going to undo those moves. So it must be this one instead. And those match now. And just like that, the first 2 layers are done. Now let's work on the 3rd layer. When starting the 3rd layer, the first thing we're going to do is try to put those colored centers in. So let's try to, well, let's match up that one first. I like to replace this one with a red center, like I did before. So let's think about what we were doing before. We were bringing up the edge pair to the top, and then we were moving it and then moving the slice back down. Well, what if we move the other way? Then we can replace the piece in the top with whatever is in that spot. We could then also move the whole combination up like this, so that when you turn that slice, you can turn it back into place without destroying any of those 3 pieces. So this position is going to be the one where we care about the color. So moving that up, moving it out of the way, And moving that slice back down will line up those three colors. Now we still need to get it back into its position. So we move it out of the way of the slice turn. Turn that slice. Turn those three pieces into place and put it back. And note, since we're only doing slice turns here and making sure to restore it, we're never going to mess up any of the stuff on the previous layers. So let's do that for just a few more of these corners. And by corners, I mean centerpieces. Here's another one. Just the same algorithm. The last one for the blue. So we bring it up. We turn it out of the way. We bring the piece into place. Now we need to put it back where it was. So we bring it out of the way of this slice turn. Comes up. You move it into place. Bring it back down. 3 more to go. As usual with these, once you get the hang of it, it's not too hard to go fast. 1 more to go. And with that, we have all of the center pieces on the 3rd layer filled in. It looks like we got a couple edge pieces too for good measure. That's nice. So we still have to fill in the last 2 edge pieces here. How are we going to do that? Well, if we had matched up the edges before, we could have actually put them both in at the same time with that 3x3x3 Rubik's Cube algorithm. Unfortunately, we didn't do that, so we're going to find a different way. I'm going to get a pencil and paper because I think there's just going to be a couple of moves. I'm going to try to do this without using the technique that I showed on the Rubik's Cube video for making your own algorithms. I just want to keep track of it. And the reason I think you don't need the full power of that is because you still have this top layer to put pieces into. You don't have to worry about mapping pieces to themselves quite yet. So let me go get a piece of paper, and then we'll try to get those last 2 pieces in. So, what's a piece that we need to put in? Well, we need to put this red and green piece in this place here. So how can we do that? Well, what if we did something like L prime? Well, what I'd like to do is turn this slice. I need a name for it, so I've chosen B prime. I have no idea if that's Ruby standard notation or not. That just makes sense to me. Little B prime. So what's out of place right now? We still need to turn this face back at some point. Otherwise, there's no point in lining this up. And this whole slice is out of position. Now actually this left face here being out of position is not nearly as bad as this one being out, because if, for example, I were to do this and then the other one back, that's horrible. There's things down here missing, there's things up here in the wrong place. So what I'm going to try to do, I think, is move this out of the way. So what if I did something like this? So I want to keep that edge pair preserved. So that would be, what is that? U prime. Now I can turn that slice back, and most things will be back in place. And that's the wrong way to turn it. B. So most of these colored faces are back into place. Now, the ones that aren't are mostly on this left face here. So if I undo this, do a U, and then a L, we're in a position where only a few things should be out of place. And actually just this right here, just these 3 pieces are out of place. Can we restore them easily? Well, I think we can actually. If we do a U prime, I have completely lost my orientation. But I've completely lost my orientation, so I've got to be more careful with the next one. But basically, if I do a U prime from this orientation and line that back up, it can go back into place. And this is very intuitive. This is just looking at where the least number of pieces are going to be displaced. So doing the same thing over here, that would be R, and then B. Now we want to move that edge out of place, so we're going to do a U. We're going to move that slice back, which is a B prime. Now a U prime, R prime. And just this slice is out of place still. So doing a U, a B, a U prime, and a B prime fixes that. And that's the first 3 layers. How about that? So that last algorithm was probably pretty confusing. And the reason is it's really hard to explain what I'm doing there because it's mostly intuitive. I'm looking at where the fewest number of pieces are going to be displaced. I have a feeling that I can do that and make that algorithm just with a small number of moves like this, because the top layer can still be used as a storage place for pieces. And so it doesn't quite follow the usual way that I would talk about that, which is with mapping pieces to themselves and then undoing those moves. That was more just trying to keep track of where I was moving and how I was moving. In fact, I even messed that up. I got the orientation wrong. Well, with the first 3 layers solved, I think this is a good place to stop today. And tomorrow, I hope, we'll solve the final layer. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. And as always, happy puzzling.